Welcome back into Court Vision. I'm Luke Backman with my co-host Vincent Zakian. As it seems like we're in the final stretch of the NBA regular season, each teams have played about 60 games, about 20 or so left in the regular season. It's time where we're seeing a little bit of separation. Who's the contenders? Who's the teams that maybe could make a run? We'll talk about all of it here in this video. Before we get started, I'm Luke Backman. Once again, you can subscribe to Backman Sports, but you can also subscribe to Vincent Zakian's channel. He's covering everything: football, basketball, baseball, everything, soccer. You can subscribe to Vincent Zakian. Link is in the description as well. Vincent, we're post All-Star break. Again, 60 games. I've gone, more or less through the regular season. Just kind of thoughts as we enter the final, month and a half, maybe 2 months of the regular season, gearing up for the playoffs.
Yeah, this week's been a great look at the teams starting to separate at the top of the conferences. I think we've had Pistons, Thunder, Celtics, Nuggets, Spurs, Pistons, Cavs, Knicks all this week. And we're really starting to figure out, what are the weaknesses of these teams that's going to maybe get them exposed and maybe have them fall around short of where they might be expected to go, and which teams kind of have a group to contend right now outside of the obvious. Obviously, we know the Thunder, they're playing through a bunch of injuries right now, and they're putting out skeleton crews every game. But there are definitely teams out there that I think are going to challenge them right now.
100%. Let's just jump in right there. Let's start with the Eastern Conference. Let's talk about these teams at the top of the Eastern Conference. You got the Pistons, you got the Celtics, you have the Knicks, and then, of course, you have the Cavaliers, who traded for James Harden at the deadline. And James Harden's been phenomenal with the Cavaliers, and we'll talk about his fractured thumb in his right hand in a little bit. But let's talk about the Pistons. They're the number one team in the Eastern Conference right now. They played the Spurs, they played the Thunder back-to-back. What have you seen from these games with Detroit?
I love watching their games. I love the atmosphere at Little Caesars, especially in that the game against the Spurs a couple nights ago was just unbelievable, just electric atmosphere. And they lost that game to San Antonio, I think, because of what's going to get them bitten and what's going to, I think, make them fall short of the finals, Luke, is their one-dimensionality on offense. And it by the way, it got them a win last night against the Thunder, because down the stretch, the Thunder made a run to make that game close, and then Cade took over. Right, he was just, no one could really hang with him. Based on they were throwing Dort and Case on Wallace at him, but on both ends of the court, Cade was excellent to close the Thunder game that was last night at the time of recording. But in the Spurs game, and this is partially because Wemby is just out of his mind, just a freak of nature, but the Pistons are a heavy pick and roll team. And they came up against Wemby, who can guard the potential scorer and the roller in a pick and roll at the same time, which is what he was doing the entire game. And it absolutely destroyed the Pistons on offense. And for me, it just got them exposed. And right now, they've been the best team in the East this year, Luke. I can't see them getting to the finals because I think Cleveland and New York are just a little more multiple.
I totally agree with you. I think the times when the offense is clicking for Detroit, it's it's hard for any team, even Cleveland or New York, to stop them. But both teams have the Knicks. Defensively, the Knicks have pieces. Again, I'm a Knicks guy, so OG, Mikal Bridges, GTA now. It scares me with the Pistons when you mention it, when they get one-dimensional and they have to rely on Cade Cunningham and his shot-making ability. Not him getting to the paint, not him finishing around the rim, but shooting. I think in that Spurs game, he shot an awful clip. I forget exactly the number.
Yeah.
But it was I think he took 24 shots, and I think he hit single digits in the game, if that rings a bell, I believe. I think making Cade be the main shooter, have to create, he can create, he torched the Knicks for 42 in the first game back from the All-Star break, right? So, when you take away their role players, Jenkins, he had 6 threes against the Knicks when they played him at Little Caesars earlier in the seasons. I think he had 3 points that night. When you make the role players kind of, they're not having as big of an impact. It's Cade Cunningham, you have to create off the pick and roll, like you said, every single possession. I think that's where you mentioned one-dimensional. It's going to be hard to, every defense knows what's coming. it's going to be hard for that offense with the Pistons to kind of, I don't know, adjust. Again, though, when they're clicking and the role players are on, it's another story. And it's going to be big for them to have home court advantage in the entire playoffs, being the first seed, because everyone says role players play better at home, so they'll feel more comfortable. But I'm with you. I mean, yes, they've been the best team in the East so far, but there are holes. I just look at everything. The playoffs, everything tightens up. Everything tightens up. Defense tighten up. Offense tighten up. You're not going to see these 120, 130-point games. You're going to be seeing 100, 110 maybe point games. It's like, okay, everything tightens up, and when teams are gearing to guard that pick and roll, again, they're one-dimensional. I'm with you on the Pistons. Again, I know I might sound like a salty Knicks fan. They swept the Knicks this season, but it's like, okay, even Boston, even Cleveland, a second-round matchup. If Detroit bows out in the second round against I'd say the number 4 seed, which could be the Cavs or the Knicks, I wouldn't be crazy shocked, right? I'd still pick them before the series started against maybe the Cavs, but I wouldn't be crazy shocked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Cade was 5 for 26, by the way, against San Antonio. Okay, yeah. It felt like I was watching like a Luka Doncic team against San Antonio, where it's just like when San Antonio just like the Luka teams from like earlier in his Mavs career, where it's like he's doing all he can, and the rest of the guys are either just like 3-point specialists or defense specialists, or Duren, who's an excellent player, and I love the effort he gave against San Antonio especially. He really was like physical with Wemby, and that was really awesome. But there isn't someone they need. I mean, it was their issue last year, and like everyone on the team's gotten better. And I mean, I'm familiar with Tobias Harris's game. And I know what the Pistons want him to be. They so badly want him to be that second guy who can create his own shot. That's what they're paying him for. And he's not. I'm here to tell you right now, Luke, he is not that guy. I waited a long time for him to be that guy. And yeah, it's unfortunate. LeVert can kind of be that guy, but he's too streaky and just isn't good enough sometimes. But it's the same issue that they've had, and it means they're probably going to have to, in the offseason, depends on how the rest of the season goes, but in the offseason, I think they're going to have to move some assets around and just try to find themselves someone else who can make things happen outside of Cade.
Agreed. Let's move on. A couple other teams in the East. This team, the Boston Celtics, they're the second seed in the East, but it feels like when everyone talks about the East, they say Detroit, New York, and Cleveland, and they kind of leave Boston out of that forefront of, hey, they could make a run maybe. What's your thoughts on Boston? I mean, obviously they've been phenomenal. There's a Jason Tatum maybe returning, during the season. Excuse me. Like, what's your take on Boston so far this season? And what's their ceiling? Do you think for them?
Their ceiling, I think, is second round without Tatum. With Tatum, it changes. Definitely. With Tatum, they can probably go to the finals, but like also with Tatum, I think it is important. I know it's a new season, but I'm thinking a lot about the playoffs last year and how I felt the Celtics were truly outplayed by New York in the second round. And that was, before pre-Tatum injury, I felt like they were careening towards losing that series. Obviously, it was he got hurt in a lost game that was going to make it 3-1, I believe. And their squad is worse than it was last year, right? Like they got. I mean, Porzingis wasn't playing in that series, but like no more Drew, and like White and Pritchard have been really good, and they added Vucevic, so they've got good players. But I see this season for me, they're just so well coached and their standards so high that I think in the East, and maybe the East depth is kind of underrated, but I think they have kind of just been able to be more competent than other teams, and Jaylen Brown has been unbelievable.
No, agreed. You look at it now, the 2-7 matchup in the first round would be against the Magic, and then in the second round, they would face the Knicks again, similar to last year, facing the Knicks. Yeah. I mean, it interests me with this team because what happens if Tatum returns, right? Like, if Tatum returns,
right,
is that gonna mess up an offense which has been phenomenal for the season because he's going to be a guy that's going to get 20 shots a night. And of course, he's Jason Tatum, no wonder. But it seems like they have a chemistry this year. Jaylen Brown has been phenomenal. Again, it scares me a guy coming off of a serious injury like that. Like his first games are going to be playoff intensity games, even if it's at the end of the regular season.
Totally.
It's going to be playoff intensity to try and secure that second seed. That always scares me. It's going to take him a little, to work himself back into shape, into NBA game shape. I don't know. For this Boston team, I just feel like, I don't know. I've seen the Knicks. The Knicks, I think, won the season series against them, or split. I think they split the season series, but they won the most recent game with both teams healthy. And it just feels like, again, with Boston, if they don't hit threes, they're in a lot of trouble. But if they do hit threes, like teams can still play with them. Like last year, it's like if they hit threes, it's wraps. But now without Tatum, without that 1-2 punch of him and Jaylen Brown, it's like, okay, if you shut down Jaylen Brown, and even if they hit some threes, it's like this is still a close game because their A score isn't having a great game. So I don't know. I feel like I still would have Detroit, New York, and probably Cleveland over Boston right now.
I would too.
And let's talk about those other two teams because they just played a couple days ago. New York and Cleveland. Cleveland on a crazy hot streak. James Harden did fracture his right thumb, is going to play through it. New York has been able to right the ship after that huge skid during the middle of the season. I think they're 9-4 over their last 13. Defense has been much better against the Cavs. Yeah. You can't win any NBA game when you shoot 3 for 24 in a quarter.
Nope.
And you turn the ball over 15 times, 9 times in the first half or first quarter and a half alone. But I think both of these teams are gearing up to get ready for the playoffs. Just evaluate what you saw in that game and both these teams heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I had a definitive takeaway when it came to the Spurs-Pistons game. But this game, the Knicks Cavs really just felt like the Knicks weren't making their shots, and that's why it wasn't competitive. We're fully in the Harden honeymoon period. And, I mean, 5 other franchises will tell you now, it's amazing, dude. It's the coolest thing ever. Like, your big men are scoring. Your ball handler can play more off the ball and focus on just getting to the cup. It's the sickest thing ever. Harden, dude, they're immediately getting a mic in his face after the game, and Harden's like, dude, we're building something special here. Like, we're just locked in. It's the best thing ever. Dude, I remember it. It's bringing back the emotions of 2022 and then 2023 subsequently after that with Harden, where when it's good, it's good, man. It's a great fling. But I mean, I think we all kind of know what's coming down the pike. I'm glad the Cavs made the move because they are more interesting now. And it was kind of just a bummer seeing them just really be disappointing this year. Keon Ellis, impressive so far. For the doesn't get a ton of minutes, but like the athleticism and the active hands and all that. Having Schroeder to run the run the second unit is really good. And yeah, I think the Cavs are back into that top 3 in the East conversation that they weren't in before. But Luke, I'll say it quietly. I do think the Knicks are going to win the East. And I haven't felt that way this entire season. And it feels weird to say this coming off of the both the Pistons and the Cavs kicking their asses. Like, within a week of each other, the two teams that they're kind of competing with. I think the Knicks are the most multiple team in the East. And I don't even think that highly of Karl Anthony Towns, but I think Brunson's just going to be nails in the playoffs. And no one has shown an ability to stop Brunson, even if you can't hunt him on defense. And Cat can create his own shot, and he can win you a couple playoff games kind of like Harden can. And I think their defense is going to be really good, and I think Mikal Bridges won't be terrible when the playoffs come around. I feel like he's been so awful lately. And that's been my takeaway. Like, I'm looking at these teams, and I think the Pistons are just so one-dimensional on offense, and I think James Harden is going to go 3 for 19 in some important playoff games, and that leaves for me, and I think that the Celtics are too thin without Tatum, and I think that just kind of leaves the Knicks for me.
Yeah, I'll talk about the Cavaliers first. You mentioned it, the Harden honeymoon. Everything's going great. I mean, Jared Allen looks
It's so
he looks
awesome.
phenomenal. Donovan Mitchell's playing well. Harden's playing well. I did see a stat. I was looking at the Cavs, just looking a little into them. The Cavs have gone on a streak even before they traded for Harden. They were turning things around around the new
Yeah.
year. But I saw during this stretch where they've turned things around, and I hate to say this because it is a solid sample size, excuse me. But they mentioned the Cavaliers are shooting the best from three, about 39% from that range during that span, and their opponents are actually shooting the worst percent. And a lot of that's
Mm,
coupled with the opponents missing a lot of open 3-pointers. That's why. So it's like,
mm.
okay, at some point things maybe will balance out. But if you're a Cavaliers
Definitely.
fan, you're saying, well, at the beginning of the season it was the other way. So it's like, okay,
Right.
at some point things will balance out. But the Cavaliers, they look fun. But I'm with you 100%. I mean, we've seen this James Harden, merry-go-round throughout all the places in his career where it's like, okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh, there's a playoff stinker. There's a playoff loss. There's a dysfunction within the team. It's like maybe, in a truncated season where he's traded at the trade deadline, the dysfunction won't happen this year, but
Yeah.
will the
He
choke?
wants his contract.
Right,
It's the
exactly.
same thing every time.
Exactly. He's gonna play well. Cleveland will be like,
Yeah.
yeah, we got you for the future, and then we're back at square one. It feels like with the Knicks. Yeah, the Knicks lost to Detroit and Cleveland again. I look at the Cleveland game. You didn't hit shots, and that's the scary thing about this Knicks team is with Mike Brown, they shoot more threes. So when they miss a lot of threes, it feels like they're not in as many games as they were
Yeah.
last year. But again, when it comes playoff time, I have to feel like the defense is gonna lock in. It's gonna make it a little tougher for the opposing teams. Karl Anthony Towns' problem, he only had 5 shot attempts during that Cleveland game. But before the Cleveland game, the 3 or 4 games they've played since the All-Star break, Cat's
Yep.
been really good. Cat
Great.
is
Yeah.
Cat has gotten back. I think he had 4 straight 20-point games. He had 28 against Chicago on the second night of a back-to-back, where he really won the game for the Knicks. Cat's getting back a little into form, and one thing I love, Jose Alvarado, when he's in the game, like on the pick and roll, he's looking for Cat. Like Jalen Brunson, when he's in the pick and roll with Cat, he's looking to score and then
Hmm.
maybe Cat. Alvarado is like half of his body is turned looking where Cat is so he can throw it to him on the pop.
Hmm.
I love that because I think this team goes as far as Cat takes them. Or as Jalen Brunson, but Cat has to be that second guy.
Totally.
Like if the Cat is a no-show, I can't count on OG Anunoby for a 7-game series to be our second guy. Anunoby's got to hit shots. He's been fine. He's coming off a toe injury. He played well the other night. Not against the Cavs. No one played well against the Cavs. Mikal Bridges. I'm. I think for him, like I don't have any answers for Mikal Bridges. If you just give us a playoffs like you did last year, for some reason last year against Boston, not only was his defense good, but if you remember in the game 4 that the Knicks were able to go up 3-1, Tatum got injured with 3 minutes to go in that fourth quarter. To start the fourth quarter, it was a neck and neck battle. In the third quarter, Brunson and Tatum went back and forth. It was a crazy, like just a great display of basketball. And it was like a 2-point, 3-point game. And then Mikal Bridges comes out and he's aggressive. Like that's the Mikal Bridges I want to see, an aggressive Mikal Bridges on offense, especially. I'm with you. I feel like the Knicks, they play these tight games, and that's what the playoffs are. Playoffs are tight games, and I have confidence in Jalen Brunson. It seems like he does it all the time. He's had some stinkers this year. He's had some
Yeah.
stinkers against Detroit, but I also feel he played awful against Detroit like a month ago. But I also felt he missed his first 4 or 5 shots. There's a couple guys injured. He said, "All right, I'll see you guys in the playoffs." Like I feel like this is gearing up for a Knicks team that, again, last year the reporting from this year about last year was the Knicks kind of had some ego issues all regular season. Like, hey, I should get more minutes. I should have this role. And then when it came playoff times, put all of that aside and should have went to the finals, but Tyler Reese Halliburton said no, I'm going. So I agree. I still have confidence in the Knicks. The Knicks, though, you have to get the 3 seed. You're not getting the 1 seed. Detroit has that locked up. You're a game and a half behind
Hmm.
Boston for the 2 seed. At minimum, you have to get the 3 seed and delay a potential Detroit Pistons
Conference
series
finals.
until the
Yeah.
Eastern Conference Finals. Because I feel that if you get the Pistons in the second round, that I'd like the Knicks against the Pistons, but I want to see them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Let them go through a battle with the Cavs. And even with the Knicks lost to the Cavs the other night, the Knicks have won this, clinched the season series. So even if they end up with the same record, Knicks would get that third seed if they were tied. So you got to get the 3 seed. You could still make your way to this 2 seed. Just Boston always seems to get a W, whoever they're playing. But at this moment, there's questions for the Knicks, but I still feel like their questions are ones that aren't huge and can be solved. And hey, you know what? They can make a run and they can get all the way to the finals. Eastern Conference, they're interesting. I talked to you. The Eastern Conference, I think, is just as good as the Western. Not just as good, but they're close to the Western Conference. There's not a gap between the two conferences like there's been in the past. So we're going to see. Let's flip it over to the Western Conference. We've mentioned this team. They just played Detroit the other night, the Thunder. You mentioned battling through injuries. I picked. Did we both pick the Thunder? No, you picked the Nuggets. I picked the Thunder, and we'll talk about the Nuggets as well. We still thought they both were going to the Western Conference Finals. Are you still confident in the Thunder in the Western Conference? How you feel?
Yeah, I feel good about them. They've been down guys. Shea's obviously been out for an extended period right now, and they've just been kind of throwing out skeleton crews. It's like I hate watching the Thunder because of McCain now. Like it's just like pulling teeth. He's been excellent since the trade deadline, because they've relied on him because they've been down so many guys. There's one play last week. I mean, I'm just gonna bring this up. There was one play last week where he drove under the hoop and made like a perfect kick out pass to Isaiah Joe, who the Sixers also traded to the Thunder. Like relocated, got it back, and knocked down a 3. And it's like, oh, he didn't do that the entire season with us, and that's why Nick Nurse held his hands up and said, I can't do anything with this. But now, sure, he's on the Thunder, and it's all going great for him. I think that they're going to be the 1 seed anyway. They'll be fine. They hung with the Pistons last night, with their backups, essentially. When they get back, they've got kind of the championship experience right now. I really have zero doubts about Oklahoma City.
100%. I'm with you there. I agree with everything. Let's switch over to the Nuggets. They're the 4 seed. I saw an interesting stat that they've been battling injuries throughout the year too. Jokic obviously missed the season. A month of the season. I saw a stat that their projected starting 5 that would be for the playoffs or starting 5 coming into the season, which includes Jokic, Brown, Murray, Gordon, and I'm missing somebody else. Whatever.
Brown? You said Brown.
Who is it? I did. It's someone. Whatever. Have only played a combined 334 possessions together. That's only 6% of possessions the entire year. So it's like they've been dealing with injuries. Aaron Gordon's been out for a while. He's been in and out. They're 4th in the Western Conference. Jokic is back, and he's back to doing Jokic things. Thoughts on the Nuggets so far? If they're able to get healthy, are they still your pick to win it all?
They are. I think if there's one guy who can kind of piece together chemistry in a hurry, it's Jokic. Because everyone just kind of gets the best out of everyone. Last night was a good example of what the Nuggets I think can be. They beat Boston last night pretty comfortably. They kind of pulled away in the second half. They got good contributions off the bench from Valanciunas when Jokic was out, and from Hardaway, who's having a very good season shooting the ball for them. They still haven't gotten what I thought they'd get out of Cam Johnson. I thought he would be a bit more of a contributor this season. But Murray has stepped up to, getting to his first All-Star game this year, and he's been really excellent. And, I don't think the Thunder are as dominant. I still think they're probably, the best team in the West with the Nuggets, but I don't think they've been quite as dominant as I thought they'd be. And I think they're gettable if the Nuggets piece it all together and are healthy, because they've got just as much, big game experience as OKC. They drove them to 7 games last year with a worse squad, in my opinion. And Jokic he's just quietly dominating every night like he kind of always does.
Cam Johnson was the 5th. You mentioned him. Cam Johnson would be the 5th in that projected starting lineup. I'm with you. I feel like I know I picked the Thunder, and the Thunder have to get healthy too, but these two are on a collision course, it feels like, and we'll talk about the number 2 seed. I know we jumped around here, but these are the 2 title contenders we said. Wemby and the Spurs might have something to say, but I still think the big game history that both Jokic, Murray, and this entire Nuggets roster, Aaron Gordon, too, part of that championship team, have. Everyone forgets they pushed OKC to Game 7 last year. Granted, OKC blew them out in the 7th game in Denver, but Denver was right there. They were a game away from the NBA Finals and maybe potentially winning the NBA Finals. I don't know how they'd match up against the Indiana Pacers last year, but I'm with you. I think Nuggets are healthy. I don't care what seed they are. It's sort of like LeBron when he was with the Cavs or the Heat. Like it was like if they're just healthy going into the playoffs, you're choosing them because they have the best player in the world. And I know that could be an argument between Shea and Jokic right now, but I think the dominance Jokic has shown through the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's like, okay, I'm going to put my faith in Jokic right now. So I think the Nuggets are fine. How far are they out? Oh, they're one game away from third in the Western Conference. So they can jump up to that 3 seed, no problem. Let's talk about the 2 seed. That's the San Antonio Spurs with Victor Wembanyama. I mean, they've been a surprise this year. Yes, they've been good. I don't think anyone expected them to be this good. The 2nd seed in the Western Conference. Castle, Harper, they've been phenomenal too. Young guards. Thoughts on the Spurs, and are they one of those young teams that are going to experience a little playoff disappointment before they eventually get to that ultimate goal in maybe a year or so?
Yeah, I think probably. And I think they can totally make a conference finals run and that kind of thing. Just looking at, the matchups, right? Denver's slated to play OKC in the 2nd round right now. So I think if that was how it goes, if Denver gets that 4th seed, then yeah, I'd say they'd probably be in the conference finals against Oklahoma City. If not, I don't really like their chances against Denver in the 2nd round. But it's amazing watching Wemby every night. Watching the player Castle has become in very short order. Harper, he can kind of just play very free while also, learning, figuring things out. I was really impressed with Keldon Johnson the other night against Detroit. Like these guys, they play together and they defend really well. And it's hard to overlook just how good Wemby is and how good he's gonna be. And he's just there's no denying him. Like he's just gonna be the guy. And that means the Spurs are going to be here for a while, but teams usually have to build up a little scar tissue before they dominate the league. And I think their roster probably still does have some holes. Like it's not like a fully championship ready roster. Maybe they need some vets. But yeah, I've enjoyed watching them a lot. And what they did to the Pistons the other night was really something, because the Pistons have been building up that kind of scar tissue, and they have gotten more experience winning games and stuff. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing watching Wemby in that game, because the Pistons, they're not the best shooting team. They attack the rim a lot, and the amount of shots Wemby he had 6 blocks, but he probably deterred 7 guys from going to the rim, or made shots more difficult, forced a floater instead of a layup. It's probably worth 20 or 30 points a game. Just him being there. And I can't see how that's... I think against, if he comes up against Jokic, then Jokic will find a way to exploit him a little bit, but I don't see how anyone else outside of the Thunder could figure him out.
It's been a fun run with this Spurs team. They almost won the NBA Cup earlier this season. Wemby, you mentioned this. I watched your video, Top 5 Athletes, plug for Vincent's channel. That could help, improve sports, transcend their sport. And Wemby, you mentioned injuries. That's really the only thing keeping him back. And he's had a few injuries, and I think Mitch Johnson and the Spurs have done a great job in, not overplaying Wemby for a good portion of the season after that injury. I'm trying to remember was it a calf or something with the leg, I think. And he came back and he was off the bench for a long point. Even in that NBA Cup final, he was coming off the bench, I believe, if I remember correctly, and on a minute restriction. They've done a good job, and if Wemby's healthy, he's the best player in the world for the next 10, 15 years. Right now, I think they're just trying to get Wemby to stay healthy. They've been phenomenal. This team has been so fun to just keep up with. Again, I don't even remember if I had them in the playoffs I might have had them the last team in the play-in, and that might be generous. I think I had the Mavericks over the Spurs. How dumb do I look for that one? Yeah, not great at all. This team's been good. Not good. Great. I got to give Mitch Johnson all the credit in the world. Like, JB Bickerstaff might win Coach of the Year just because of what Detroit, the number 1 seed. Granted, Detroit was the 5th seed or 6th seed last year, so whatever. The Spurs were not good at all last year. Or part of that was Wemby out of the year with a blood clot. But Mitch Johnson has been phenomenal. He has really guided this team. Helps when you have a generational player, but their whole team is making contributions. The 2 guards, Champagne's been a big part of this team. Vassell's had a nice year as well.
Vassell's been great.
Vassell's been really good for this team. And they gave him a big contract a few years ago, and I remember some people were like, really? I don't know about this, but I'm not saying he's lived up to the contract, but he's shown, okay, I can be a contributing piece on a very, very good team. So San Antonio has a team. Again, I think about the Thunder a few years ago when they lost to the Mavericks in the playoffs, and plenty of times, this is just the one that's coming up, the first off the dome. Thunder lose to the Mavs in the second round. Next year, they'll win the NBA championship. This is just how it goes. The young teams, like you said, scar tissue. You take that little defeat, and then you come back the next year a little stronger. And if it is against the Thunder or the Denver Nuggets, I'm picking both those teams over the Spurs. But the Spurs have been phenomenal, and I wouldn't want to match up with them in the NBA playoffs. Let's go to number 3 seed and the Los Angeles Lakers, who are the number 6 seed. You mentioned them before we got onto the air here and started recording. You feel like they're not contenders this year. I want to expand on that.
The Lakers or the Rockets?
You said both, right? Or
I feel that way about both.
Whatever one you want to talk about first, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll start with the Rockets. I've watched a lot of the Rockets this year. Their issues are the same as they used to be. Even with KD, and KD can come in and be the guy who can make the shots down the stretch. But they're blowing leads right now because it gets to crunch time, and a lot of the time they have a lead because they're a very good team. And yeah, Amin's jump shot has not taken a jump. Jabari's kind of Jabari, and Şengün's cooled off. And I think it's fair to say the vibes around the team are not good right now.
Yeah, we didn't record. I was out of town. We didn't record for the KD burner saga.
The KD files.
Yeah, KD files. And if you don't know, basically, Kevin Durant has some choice words for not only past teammates, but current teammates.
Allegedly.
And allegedly, right? Get off my Dickerson, 7-7 or whatever. He had some words for Jabari Smith. And so I'm with you. The vibes look so weird with this team right now. It feels like a couple times it looks like Kevin Durant's trying a little too hard to be a good teammate nowadays.
I totally agree with that. And it's just I don't think they stack up with OKC, San Antonio, Denver, and Minnesota. I like Minnesota to be the 4th in that kind of group of contenders. The Lakers, on the other hand, the Lakers have guys who can score to end a game. Obviously, they've got Luka Doncic and LeBron James and Austin Reeves. The Lakers cannot defend and don't have a big man. They're going through all the DeAndre Ayton troubles that we knew they would go through. And did you see, was that a real quote I saw on Twitter today? DeAndre said, they're trying to make me sound like Clint Capella. Did he actually say that?
David, yeah, I believe that's from Dave
McMenamin, yeah.
Article.
Syracuse.
And I saw something as well. On his water bottle, the trainers write, MJ's special stuff from Space Jam.
Yeah.
When they drink the water, they write DA's special stuff, unleash the beast on his water bottles. I don't think the beast has been unleashed. I'll just say that. And we predicted this. We said this from the jump. Laker fans are going to hate DeAndre Ayton. And he hasn't given them any reason not to. I will say this. You mentioned the Lakers being a good clutch team. They've actually been the best clutch team in the league this season. They actually, the first clutch game or down to the wire, it was just a couple nights ago where they didn't execute, and that was against Orlando, where Luka Doncic had a wide open shot off an inbounds. Great play that JJ Redick drew up, and for some reason Luka hesitated, then took a dribble. He had another shot with the dribble and then passed it to LeBron. Wasn't expecting it with 2 seconds to go and took a fadeaway, turnaround, 3-point shot. They have the guys to close. Like, you have the ball in Luka or LeBron's hands, you feel confident. Heck, even Austin Reeves at times. I watched their game a little bit against the Celtics. I think that was Saturday. And you mentioned it. They have no defense. Like, if it feels like if teams get up early on the Lakers, it can steamroll into a blowout. Like, I feel like the Lakers' sense of, like, they can't battle with the team. Once things start going bad, I feel like it's an avalanche against the Lakers. And the defense is non-existent when you got Luka Doncic and a 41-year-old LeBron James. He's not the defender he once was. The Lakers are a fun story. They're they're not a fun story. They're just the Lakers. They're the 6th seed. Like, them versus the Rockets would be an interesting playoff series. I picked the Rockets.
Yeah, it's a weird one because it's like I don't see either of them. I both of them. Yeah, I don't see either of them as like top 4 contenders, but they would be by definition. One of them would be because they'd be in the Final 4 in the West.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know. Yeah,
that can't happen. If we get Minnesota, Denver is too good a series to have in the first round.
Hey, talk about Minnesota. You talked about them off camera with me, and you talked about Anthony Edwards in your last video. Talk about Minnesota. What you love about them so much.
Yeah, Ant-Man's just kind of hitting a new level, adding something new to his game every week. I loved what they did at the deadline, bringing in Io to some new, because now Mike Conley can just wear a tracksuit and not get in the game that much. And as much as I love Mike Conley, and the fact that he's still a contributing player on a really good team at this point in his career is a great thing, but they've been so reliant on him. They tried to make it work with Dillingham, couldn't develop him, didn't happen, whatever. Cut your losses and move on. And Ant-Man's been awesome. Randall's been good. And when the playoffs come around, this is one of those teams where I feel like they're going to be dialed in, And that's just what they've shown us the past couple of years. And if I had to guess, I would say the Rockets will drop a little in the standings. They're all really close together. I think Denver's going to get that 3rd seed. I think Minnesota's going to get that 4th seed. And we'll have a pretty awesome, I think, Minnesota versus Houston first-round series. But I think the top 4 is going to be the top 4. Are you where I'm at on Minnesota?
Yes. I think Minnesota is really good, but I don't. This was my issue preseason with them. They're a good team. They don't jump up to that other level, to the Thunder and Nuggets level. I don't have them there. Like, if you give me the series between the Thunder and the Nuggets, I'd pick either one of those teams in 6 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves right now, with a potential maybe even 5 games. Like, I just feel like it's similar to what happened last year. Like, you're going to have so much pressure on Anthony Edwards. I love Julius Randle, but I don't know how much faith I'm putting in Julius Randle in a playoff series when he has to be like he had games where he had 40 last year in the playoffs, and then the next game he'd have 7. So it's like Ant-Man's been phenomenal. I love Ant-Man, but this is why I said preseason they got to make a trade, or they could be a team to watch at the trade deadline. Obviously, they were linked with Giannis. Giannis wasn't going anywhere, though. I feel like they need a bona fide second person with Anthony Edwards, and then they can be on that level of the OKC and Denver. Other than that, I could see them getting to the second round. I think they'll beat whoever in the first round. If it's Houston, I think they beat Houston in the first round. Against the elite in the Western Conference, I just think they fall short of.
I think they could maybe take San Antonio because of, you've got Rudy who can you can't hang with Wemby on the perimeter, but down low he kind of can. And he brings that kind of shot deterrent that Wemby also kind of brings. But I think Ant's good enough to just ward off the amount of young guards San Antonio could throw at them. But I agree. I think it's OKC and Denver. Hopefully, I hope to God we get that in the conference finals. And I think Minnesota and San Antonio, I could be convinced into them making a run. But Houston and LA, who I think we're both pretty high on to start the season, I think they've just fallen out of the race, even though Houston's still 3rd in the West right now.
Yeah. No, I agree. If I had to go where I just talked about tiers, like OKC and Denver, first tier, then I'd have San Antonio and Minnesota. And maybe, on the right night, Houston could be in that second tier. Like they've shown spurts where they could be in that second tier, but they're on that, they could be, bottom of the second tier or top of the third tier, and then you got the other teams. Like, so it's interesting. I agree though. I think, Minnesota, that's a dark horse team, and I never want to go against Anthony Edwards in a playoff series. I feel he's got that eye of the tiger ready to kill anybody, and I think he'd love to go and knock Kevin Durant out of the playoffs once again, like he did when KD was in Phoenix a couple years ago. What else? I'm trying to think. I know we want to touch on some of the the NBA draft class. Just some college basketball. We're almost to March Madness. Anything else?
Yeah. We got to make sure we talk March Madness on this podcast because that's going to be a great time. But just give me a snapshot right now. Peterson, DeBonsta, Boozer, Caleb Wilson. If you're drafting number 1 overall, let's say you're Utah. Who do you want?
Ooh, Utah. See, again, it's funny with Utah because, remember, they made a trade for Jaren Jackson Jr. So it's like they're expecting their number 1 guy to come in and them to, compete for a play-in position next year. But still, I think right now.
Utah's a bad one because Utah's literally like in love with
BYU,
DeBonsta because I think he's part of the reason he's at BYU. I think they've like maybe contributed some funds. They're kind of a bad one, and so is Indiana. I'm very excited about because if I'm Indiana, I probably wouldn't take Darren Peterson because I think he could mess up the chemistry a little bit. I think I'd probably take DeBonsta and just plug him in. But all right, so like a team that's like totally starting from scratch, like New Orleans or like Sacramento.
Wow, that's. Like, Peterson, man, when Peterson plays, he's so good. He's so good. Like,
unreal.
He's so, smooth with it, too. Like, he gets the ball on the wing, and it's like, I'm going to just get to my spot. Like, or I'll just raise over and hit a 3 on you. Like, Peterson is so smooth. I'll tell you, if I'm an NBA GM, I don't know if I'll have as an important player meeting as there is when there's going to be one with Darren Peterson. Because I got to know whether or not he loves basketball.
Yeah.
Because it gets to a point where I feel like, as someone who played high school basketball and who plays in a men's league, like I would die on that court, right? Like, and then for the best player on the team to, all right, let me hit a 3. This is a game against Oklahoma State a couple weeks ago, and just like, here, come get me. I got 23. And there's 14 minutes left in the game. Just come get me. I'm good. Like, I don't know if it's the people advising him, his parents and his agent, or it's just he's mentally soft and just, I don't know. Maybe he feels a little something and he's out. He's so good, though. Like, I didn't think anyone was going to get by DeBonsta. Like, I thought he was clear-cut going to be the number 1 guy. And he's had a great season as well. He's had a really good year. BYU's had trouble against the top teams. Mm-hmm. Granted, they play in the Big 12. There's always going to be some good games in the Big 12. But Peterson I think he is so smooth. I think he gets to his shots, whether it be driving to the rim, pulling up mid-range, 3-point line. Like, I think Peterson right now would be my pick at number 1. But I got to figure out if he loves basketball. That's my biggest thing. Like, it reminds me a little. Do you remember the conversations about Anthony Edwards when it came to his draft? He was talking about, I don't really love. He said, I'd rather play football.
Football player.
He was rapping at the time. He was dropping raps on and people were like, does he love basketball? And I remember I questioned. I was like, I don't know, man. I feel like he doesn't love basketball. Boy, if you say if Minnesota picked James Wiseman over him and said, we don't know if he loves basketball, like.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to see something really egregious to not want Peterson. I think it's just kind of the way basketball is. If you see a guard with that kind of talent, those kinds of like physical traits, that shot-making ability, that playmaking ability, I think he's just a different level. And but DeBonsta's, he's probably the best like 3-4 prospect to come out of the league or to come out of college in a long time. And I think he's going to be amazing, and Boozer's awesome too. I think DeBonsta is the one who's leading college in scoring, but I think Peterson's just another level right now. And again, if the Pacers get the number 1 pick, I think they would be drafting a little more for fit rather than taking the best player available. So I think maybe they would go with DeBonsta just to plug him in as like a big wing, but. this is all going to get edited out. Luke's not even in the meeting. All right, everybody. Luke's power went out, so we're going to just end this episode of Court Vision here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe, Backman Sports. Obviously, this channel, a lot more content coming. Obviously, March Madness. We're going to wrap up the NBA season. Obviously, with the playoffs coming up around the corner, all that kind of stuff. We're going to be ramping it up in a big way, I think. So it's going to be really good. So subscribe here to Backman Sports. Subscribe to my channel, Vincent Zakian. I've been uploading some more other sports stuff with football season over. A little more basketball, a little baseball. Now that it's spring training, a little soccer, that kind of thing. Appreciate you tuning in. Tune in next time, and we'll see you then.